No. All right, so I've got a lot I could say tonight about my SLE. It was, as the title says, a roller coaster, and it had ups and downs, but I'll try to keep the point to conservation. Next slide. So it's a little blurry, which I figured it would be, but I basically flew into Costa Rica for my first day of SLE and stayed in San Jose, then flew from there to the Osa Peninsula. Thank you, that's way better. And then I flew from there in a little puddle jumper, the tiny Cessnas, to the Osa Peninsula, where, I wish I had a laser, but I fly into Puerto Jimenez, which is on the right side of that peninsula, and it's a tiny town. It's only probably 2,000 people live in the whole area, and that's the biggest town in the whole peninsula. And the Osa Peninsula is known for its biological diversity. It has 3% of the world's animal species in this tiny peninsula, which is maybe the size of 5 counties in Colorado, honestly. So I flew into Puerto Jimenez. We drive all the way to around Playa Corcovado, that area, right where Ellie was. I saw Ellie there when I got there for like 2 hours. And that night, my very first night I'm there, I was pumped. I'm going out to find snakes, and I'd met the people there. We just had lunch, and I was going to go find the fer-de-lance. That was the goal of this whole trip, was to find the fer-de-lance viper, which is the most dangerous and venomous snake in all of the Americas, in the whole Western Hemisphere. And I was like, what better snake to study than that, because it has the worst reputation. It kills the most people every year. And I want to dispel any myths about the fer-de-lance or any venomous snakes, because they aren't as bad as they seem. Unfortunately, my Costa Rica experience did the opposite, which you'll learn in a moment. So that night I'm hiking. I lift a log right at the end of that night. Hadn't seen a single snake. You should go to the next slide. And this is before, like 5 minutes before, I caught a little baby caiman in a river, and I was like psyched because that just made my night. I hadn't seen anything. And then I flipped a log, made a crucial mistake flipping that log, because I did not have something I always have back in the States, which is this. And it is a snake hook, extendable. This is a very nice one. Usually they're fixed. I did not have this with me, so I flipped the log with my hand. And fer-de-lance is only about this big. Little baby was under that log. It launched at me, nailed my finger, most venomous snake in the Western Hemisphere. And here's the thing, it thought I was a frog. My finger, it didn't see my whole body, it only saw my finger. It thought I was a frog. They're ambush predators, so they'll wait in ambush for days. Like, you can come back if you don't disturb me. You can come back week after week after week and see the snake in the same spot every day. He was sitting there. Right as I pulled the log, wham, got me. And here's why I'm here today, not dead in Costa Rica. His fang, only one hit me. The other one hit the fingernail. It was a baby, so it didn't have that much venom. Babies are not the most dangerous. That's a myth, if you've heard that. And he only slashed me. You can see my finger, the little red spot. That's the only place where the fang got me. It was just a little slash. It wasn't an actual puncture wound. So you can go to the next slide. So this is a full-on fer-de-lance bite. That was, sorry for the graphic image, but had to get the point across. They're very dangerous. This was a Discovery Channel. He was with Man vs. Wild. He was one of the filmers there. And he stepped over a log, and one got him on the foot in like 2008. And that's the full effect of the venom. He lived, he was fine, but he lost his foot. So this is the fer-de-lance venom. It contains myotoxins, which are systemic. They cause like bloating and dizziness, internal bleeding, hemorrhaging, all the nasty stuff that you don't see on the outside. We get hemorrhagens, which is the hemorrhaging too. Necrotoxins, which around the area of the bite, I still have permanent redness on my finger. I'm pretty sure it's permanent. Can't really tell, but that's the only effect I got. But if it had been any more amount of venom, it would have eaten away at my finger, which is the necrotoxin. And anticoagulants, those allow you to bleed, which is actually good the venom has that, because it helps you bleed out the venom in a way, kind of. It also has neurotoxins and nephrotoxins and cardiotoxins. Those are all tiny amounts, like barely traceable. Like it took scientists decades to figure out they actually have this venom in them, because they don't typically attack cardiotoxins, attack the heart, hence the word cardio. Nephrotoxins, they basically just destroy cells, like the necrotoxins, and bites are 100% fatal typically if you don't get treatment. My bite was, I think it was kind of a warning from the snake gods that I need to be more responsible. So unfortunately, that was the best part of the trip, because the next day I got sent home by the organization. They're like, "You're irresponsible, we're flying you home." And I had 2 weeks left there, so I didn't know what I was gonna do. So I fly home, you can go to the next one. And you can skip this. So you can skip this one too. I fly home, and I was thinking, like, how did I let myself get bit? Like, I've worked with snakes. Like, Chad, he was like, "I need a letter stating that I'm not responsible when you get bit by a snake." And I was like, that's a joke, because I'm not gonna get bit. And my dad was, we were talking the night before I left, and he's like, "Son, what happens when you get bit?" And I was like, "We don't need to have this conversation. I'm not gonna get bit." And so I was just being a cocky teenager. And this kind of proves the same point. Michael Ibarra died in July 2012 climbing Matterhorn Peak in California's Sierra Nevada mountains. And Brad Parker fell in 2014 while attempting to climb Mathis Crest Traverse in Yosemite, California. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of them or those places, but those are very famous mountain climbers and rock climbers. And I consider myself, in my head, I'm a famous herpetologist, which studies snakes and reptiles and amphibians. And so I got cocky, and I'm 18. So when you put those together, a teenager and a dude that thinks he's the best at what he does, you get bit by a venomous snake. So I came home, and you can skip it. And you can skip this one too. I thought, how am I going to study vipers back in America, where we have garter snakes? That's about it here. We have rattlesnakes too, but they're kind of hard to find. And so I thought, the best place to go is Arizona. And I had changed my whole thing. I lost my professional because he was in Costa Rica. I worked with a nature photographer. And the point of this, to change basically the whole direction of my SLE, was I changed it to photographing snakes in a way that portrays them as not dangerous, not like the Anaconda movie or the Bible portrays them, or basically anywhere you hear about snakes these days, snakes on a plane, all those. So I want to find the most venomous snake, not dangerous. They're venomous in Arizona, but only 6 people die a year out of the 8,000 that are bit in America. So I went to Arizona with my dad. He helped me pay for basically the whole trip. He came with me. He wanted to be on his first herping. It's called Looking for Snakes. Herping trip with me. We went to all these areas. You got Ruby Road down by Nogales. It's a famous road for finding rattlesnakes. Portal, Arizona, Tucson, and Phoenix. So we went to all these areas. They're famous for herping. And unfortunately, somehow, never happened to me before, and the 4 other times I've been to Arizona, we didn't find a single rattlesnake. But we found other snakes that have bad raps because they're snakes. So we went and I photographed those. You can skip to the next one. So I photographed those. These are 2 of the green rat snakes we found. This is my dad holding his first snake ever. When I even had a snake, I had a pet snake, I was like 6 years old, and he said, I don't even want to look at it because it's a snake. And it was in my room in a tank. And this is him holding a wild one. And they're totally calm. That's it as we found it on a road. This is about 30 minutes from Mexico on a dirt road. And that was my second week of SLE. And this is basically the second snake I had found the whole time. So I was pretty glad. Reasons you guys should really care about snakes other than the fact they're cool. On the East Coast, we get timber rattlesnakes, which you might have heard of. If you grew up there, you definitely did. And they can eat up to 4,200 ticks per year. not ticks themselves, but the ticks are on the mice, and they'll eat the mice, and they have some intense digestive juices, and it'll destroy anything with an exoskeleton. So I know ticks are super hard to kill, but a timber rattlesnake will kill it. And so the fur-de-lance, the snake that I got bit by, that same animal that kills, I've heard varying statistics, but they say it kills up to 1.2 million people every year in the Americas combined. And that same snake has cured diseases, ankylo something. It's a back disease. It's completely cured that. Its venom, a strain of it, is the only thing that's known to cure it. It's incredibly painful. And the viper venom is used for coagulation meds for people that they get cut by like a paper cut, they bleed out, they can almost die from it. They actually make the medication for that from this viper, because even though the viper, part of it is anticoagulation, the secondary part, the systemic part, is for coagulation purposes. So they use that. And also the snakes, of course, are a prey item for a bunch of other animals that I know everyone in here likes, like raptors, the big birds, coyotes. Maybe no one likes them anymore because they live in the cities, but they're still cool. Basically, any animal that's bigger than the snake is a predator, even if it doesn't mean to. A lot of snakes are killed by cows. The cows step on them. It actually has a huge impact on their population. So you can skip. So this is a picture I took with my girlfriend Mina over there. We went out hiking one day, and we went to a den I've known for a long time. This was also this is like a week after I got back from Arizona. These are prairie rattlesnakes. It's only about an hour from the school, just a little hiking area. And I found this den when I was like 10 years old, and I visited it like every year, trying not to mess with it because they're really sensitive. On the left side is that den. They're all peaceful. None of them really rattled until I got too close, and they're having a good time. There's a lot of babies in there. You can't tell. This is another grouping of rattlesnakes, but not in a good way. That's the Sweetwater rattlesnake roundup in Texas, in Sweetwater, Texas, and it happens every year still. And I wish I could put more photos on there and talk more about it, but it's terrible. And there are up to 10,000 rattlesnakes that are collected there every year, and they're all killed. None of them live. So you can imagine the impact that has on the ecosystem around there, and the kind of domino effect it begins across the whole country, and the ideas it puts into people's heads. The rattlesnakes are terrible. It's really just a killing fest. People come, they kill their own rattlesnake, they put bloody handprints on a wall, write their name in blood, rattlesnake blood. They get their little rattlesnake chicken tenders. It's terrible. That still happens. That happened like a month ago. If you can skip. This is another roadkill example. I took both pictures. There's a green rattlesnake. Skip. Same thing. I took that picture in Arizona. That's the same version, but dead from a car. Cars kill a lot of snakes. And this is my last point. You can have a lot of fun finding snakes. Even if you don't like them, just getting outside, even if you're not looking for them, like I've discovered finding snakes over the years, it just brings people together. Me and my dad had a great time camping for a week in southern Arizona and going everywhere, catching snakes. This is my friend's last weekend. We went down to southern Colorado, caught a lot of snakes. And you can skip to the next one. There's another one. That's Mina with a rattlesnake. She had the hook, unlike I did in Costa Rica. And then there's me taking pictures. You know, it's a great time. Like even if you don't find snakes, it's just you're hiking outside. Skip. And I'll end with, in the end, we will conserve only what we love. We will love only what we understand, and we will understand only what we are taught. Thank you.